Welcome to Girls Who Talk Goals. I'm Kristy.
I'm Natalie.
And I'm Emilie.
We are creating an empowering community where we inspire each other to step out of our comfort zones
and fill each other's cups one conversation at a time.
We're all just trying to figure out life, so let's go on this journey together.
Let's jump into today's episode.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Girls Who Talk Goals. We're coming to you from Lake Decatur at my aunt's house. And we're living our best lives, you know? The wind is winding and the sun is setting and
the drink is drinking.
And the boats are boating.
The boats are boating.
So we are thriving.
So if you hear anything, any background noise, that's why.
Hopefully it'll be fine with the background noise.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
Today's mantra is happiness comes out of being willing to do your work in your 20s to find out who you are and what you love. So today's episode, we're going to talk about pretty much the journey from 20 to 25 and who we were at the age of 20 versus how we are now at the age of 25. Even though I'd like to point out I am not 25 yet, so.
Yeah, you just got to point that out.
I just have to point that out that I am actually not 25. I will be in
your voice.
a month from today. But anyway.
And then Natalie and I will be 26 in oh my God, 4 months.
Old.
That's crazy.
Old. I'll just be entering into 25, and then you guys will have to get your own health insurance.
Don't remind me.
Thanks.
Love it.
So if you've ever wondered why Natalie and I often have more wisdom,
because we're older.
It's just because we're a little older, you know. She just hasn't made it to that crisp 2.5 yet.
Life hasn't beaten me down yet.
Or has it too much already?
No, it already
If it's
has.
coming more, then you're in trouble.
I pray to God that that this is it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm beat.
You're smooth sailing from here.
25 should be nothing but up at this point.
It will be.
I think it is. I think the next 5 years are about to be absolutely epic.
I think 25 to 30 will be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So amazing.
Because
I agree.
I feel like at 25 too, you are starting to understand more of who you are and what you really want and going after it. Whereas 20 to 25 is more of a lead up to that.
Right. Well, 25 too is when they say your prefrontal cortex fully develops. And so your logical thinking is more intact. So your decision making, even who you date, the way you date is so different because you're looking at people more logistical versus
I don't know if that's good or if that's scary.
It is scary.
What do you mean?
That's just frightening.
That you're more aware or you're...
Yeah, and if you make the wrong decision, it's not like you can blame it on anything.
Besides your prefrontal cortex.
Yeah. It's already developed. What do you mean? There's nothing to blame.
True.
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, it's just really interesting. So yeah, today we're going to talk about that. And yeah, so where were you guys at when you were 20? What jobs were you working? And I guess we were all in college.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had just graduated from Lakeland. I didn't know where I was actually going to go to school at. I knew I was moving to North Carolina to be with Andrew. So I literally graduated from Lakeland in May, moved to North Carolina and was there a couple days after graduating, and then started working a job there that I feel like I had been manifesting. When I had visited North Carolina, I was okay, what do I want to do when I get here? I want to finish school, yada yada. But I ended up taking a semester off actually too, because I wasn't sure where I wanted to go or I guess what I really wanted to do with it.
Which is smart.
Yeah. And I started working at this place called Southern Alternative, which the reason I started working there too is because I felt like at the time my boss was someone I needed in my life because she was really straight to the point, scary, tells you exactly what she thinks. And I didn't have a lot of people in my life who were that, bam.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like I needed that.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons I did it.
Yeah. Didn't you get married when you were 20?
Yes, I
That's
did.
Scary.
Left that part out.
That is scary.
I actually got engaged at 19, married at 20. We moved to North Carolina. It was pretty crazy. So I really wanted her in my life for a reason, my boss, because she was just super blunt, hadn't had a lot of people like that. And I personally wanted to be like that more. I feel like I've always just been super nice, kind of like let people walk on me in ways. And that was one of like the most attractive things about wanting to work there. And like, I love the job. It was working with clothing, and like she had built a really amazing business, and all of it was just like super beautiful up front. Then once I started working for her, I was like, oh my God, I cannot do this. I ended up doing it for like 2 years and was like,
I can't stay here.
2 years later.
And I was this woman's right hand. Like when I told her, okay, so one of the reasons, so we stayed in North Carolina 2.5 years, I think. One of the reasons I needed to move back home was so I could quit the job because I didn't have the balls to. And I'll never forget, I was going to Sam's Club with her one day, and she was like, well, you should just leave your husband. Like, why?
Are you kidding?
No. She was crazy. She's like, you should just leave your husband. Why? You don't need to move back home. Like, what's there for you that
Oh my God.
like you don't have here? She was like, okay, you cannot leave. We were going to leave in like September. So it was like 2 months from when I was telling her. And I did like everything for this woman and her business too. But she even went as far to say that I could either stay at her house or she would find me a place to rent because she did not want me to leave.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then she tried to get me to stay online and like work remote, which I didn't do because I was like, this just has to be the end of our chapter together. And like told me how much she cared about me, yada, yada, didn't want me to leave. The day I left, I have not talked to her since. She's never reached out, never done anything. And I feel like that was such a lesson for me. You know, some people just kind of use you like and abuse you, and they don't really care about you. Like I was good for her business. I served my purpose for her, and that's all it was. When I kind of thought it was maybe a little bit more than that.
Right.
But that's just the kind of person she is too at the end of the day. I definitely don't regret it because she made me a stronger person at the end of the day. As much crazy that came with it is I did learn a lot, and it helped me like blossom into the person I am today. So, and I learned a lot of great business lessons from her too that you don't always get to learn from people our age. She was like 30 and running a $1 million company, and getting to be her right hand, you know, opened my eyes up to a lot of stuff too.
Right.
That you wouldn't have experienced if you stayed.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like that here.
Right.
So even though it was a little bit of a tornado, it was still a lot of super great lessons learned.
Well, I worked at Starbucks when I was 20. Honestly, though, I loved that job. I loved working there, but it did teach me a lot about people. And obviously, now we work in a people-driven business. You work with people all the time, talk to them. And so back then, I feel like I really learned how to talk to people and deal with them. You know, when there's conflict, this and that. You know, if the drink wasn't made right.
How often did that happen?
All the time. And my thing is, you know, just be nice about it. Like, I just went there last week and my drink was horrible. And it's a drink I get all the time, so I know how it's supposed to taste. And I felt so bad because I didn't want to say something. But also, when you're paying like $7, $8 for a cup of coffee, you're going to say something.
When it comes out the wrong color.
Yeah.
You know.
I watched her pour the milk and I said, this is not going to be good.
Isn't it?
This is not it. So, but I was very nice when I went up and I was like, I paid so much. It just doesn't taste right. Would you mind remaking it? If most people did that, no problem. But when you come up and yell at somebody, then I'm going to deliberately not make it right again.
Yeah.
Just because you were rude.
Yeah.
That's just what you want to do naturally. But anyway, no, I think I learned a lot of lessons working at that job too. And it really put into perspective work ethic at that time because, you're making the same amount as everybody else, but like I would work 10 times harder. And it would make me so mad because there would be other people that would slack off. And that's kind of what got my wheels turning as far as like being self-employed. Because I'm like, if I can work so much harder, but I'm making the same amount as everybody else, like
why do I try?
Yeah, then why am I not slacking off like them?
That's such a great point because I was on like a salary or something, but working like 7 a.m. to like 5 o'clock. You need to be on the weekends. I'm there. And it was like a salary of like $46,000. And it's like at the end of the day, it should have been way more than that.
For sure. Right. You're like, no, I want overtime with this.
Yeah.
No. So I don't know. it taught me a lot. And then I think, it got my wheels turning as far as I can do better than this. My work ethic is a lot better than all these other people. So what am I going to do? So I think that was kind of a turning point for me. But I was 20 and I didn't do anything about it until I was like 22.
Well, because you were still in college.
Yeah,
You
I was
had your
still
own
going to
path.
Eastern.
Yeah, because you thought you were just saving up for PA school and
Yep.
that whole side.
Yeah, so it was a interesting time in life. But whenever you're going to school too, I mean, your worries are so little. You know, you're worried
have
about the
no
tests or your
idea.
classes.
Yeah.
Like, life has not hit you yet.
No, you're still not in like the real world.
No, you're
with
not.
college.
No.
Where was I at 20? I was 2019, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so 2019, December of 2019, I graduated Eastern with my bachelor's, and the same time I started interning, like a couple months before I graduated, I started interning at the appraisal firm, the local appraisal firm, and I was doing that towards the end, like the last semester, because I wanted to make sure I wanted to pursue that career before I took all the tests and started the education process, because it was quite long for me to not end up liking it. So I did the internship, I graduated with my bachelor's, and then started training to become a certified appraiser. Where was I living? I had a boyfriend at the time, and so I was living partially with him, I think at 20. Terrible decision. Terrible boyfriend, terrible decision. But you're 20 and you're stupid and you're young and you're impressionable.
And you don't know
Happens to all of
anything.
us.
And had, terrible acne and the confidence was low and just going through it. Where else was I? What else was I doing? I think that was pretty much it. It was just at the appraisal firm trying to figure out, okay, like that's when I started figuring out, okay, I want to do real estate. I always knew I wanted to do something real estate, but I decided not to do the broker route at the beginning, to pursue the appraisal route, to use my bachelor's. The career never had an issue. It was the relationship that I was going through. That's what really changed my views on myself and my future, which I'm very grateful for today.
How so?
It was just terrible. It was my first long-term, quote unquote, long-term relationship. Terrible. I have no idea why I have no idea what I was thinking. Like literally no idea. But you're just young and stupid. And you're like, oh yeah, like somehow you get in a love bubble or whatever.
This
and
seems good.
yeah, this seems good. This seems like a right choice. No, it was so stupid of me. But I think everything's meant to be. And I think I was meant to learn certain lessons at a younger age, which I'm
course.
very grateful for. And it just happened to be really, really bad and toxic and like mentally, I don't want to say abusive. That's a really strong word. But like it was
Challenging.
very, very, very challenging. And I think I was just supposed to learn certain lessons then. And I'm very, very grateful I learned them at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was meant to go through them, come out of them. And it made me more self-aware, more impressionable on what I want. It made me the person who I am today by going through something like that. Whether it's a bad relationship with like a significant other, a family member, seeing like my parents divorce, or because that was like right before that. So maybe that had an effect.
Mm-hmm.
Or a friendship, whatever you're going through, I think you're meant to, and to take the lessons learned. And I think it builds character. And I think it built my confidence and what I wanted. So yeah. So looking back, it's honestly one of the best things that's ever happened to me. But going through it at 20, you really think you know so much. You think you know, oh yeah, okay, this is what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And then, especially coming out of high school at 18, you're like, I know life. I know what I want to do. It's so funny because the more you get older, the less you know about everything.
Yeah.
You realize once you get into the real world, you realize how little you actually know.
Yeah.
Like me, this is what I imagine my life to be. I'm like, okay, I'll get into PA school. When I get out, I'll be like 20, I don't remember, like 24. And then I'm like, then I'll live on half of my salary so I can pay off my student loans so fast because I was so like worried about those. And then I'll get married and then we'll have kids by like 28. And then, I just had it all planned out. And then now I'm like, oops, turning 25 soon. And I'm like, yeah,
I'm just a
none
girl.
I'm
a baby.
None of that. None of that. It's just funny how you think that your whole life is planned out and you have this whole life plan. And then, one thing happens and lessons are learned. And yeah.
I always thought, you'd always see these little remarks on Instagram or something, how you can change your entire life in a year. And it's literally so true.
Oh, I would argue 6 months.
6 months.
I'm
you
gonna
could
go
totally
6 months.
be a
Yeah.
different person.
Give me 3 months.
Be a different person, be in a different career, different relationship, entirely different life
Yeah.
by just certain choices that you make.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild.
It's a little
Mhm.
scary.
It is so scary because you only get one life, but yet
Yeah.
you're like,
I will say some things that have not changed for me are like financials.
Mhm.
Like thinking like the way that I think financially is like, stay out of debt. Like I bought a car when I was 20 because my thinking back then was, okay, during PA school I can't have a job. So I don't want a car payment
Mhm.
during that time. So I got a car, worked really hard to pay it off early so that I didn't have a car payment during that. Well, I thank myself now because now I don't have a car payment. But I've just always had that same mindset with finances, with debt and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that has not changed for me from 20 to 25.
Yeah. I'd piggyback off that and say the same. I just am seeking more, like Natalie's dad says to us too. Like we asked him one day, what advice would you give someone, who's in their 20s or whatever? And he's like, take more risks.
I love
And like I
that.
feel that way with business too. Like I just want to keep buying houses or keep doing bigger things and like
Expanding your business.
yes, and watch it just, really develop into something.
Right.
So bigger risk taker.
Well,
I
and
love
because
that.
like in your 20s, what do you have to lose?
Nothing.
Obviously, that is a loaded question and different for everybody. But when it really comes down to it, we don't have families yet. We don't have kids. What do you have to lose?
what do you have to lose?
You can start at ground zero. and
Over
build
again,
yourself
very
back
quick.
up. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So
And I feel like I've heard other people on some podcasts say this, like Gary Vee. He was like, most people aren't even like building their businesses or like really going after what they want until they're like in their 30s. And
Yeah.
then maybe they're starting to get it when they turn 40. And like
Hitting
to be
success at 50
Yeah.
or 60.
and to be
by the time
having,
you retire.
right, and to be having like the conversations I feel like that we're having and like other people are having too at our age, which I feel like has been a shift in our generation,
For
is
sure.
that we see like bigger things at our ages. It's
Yeah.
not like go work your 9 to 5, go and do this, how it was for some of our parents
Mhm.
or just older generations.
I
We're going after it.
I think social media has a big part in that because you see what you can have.
Yeah,
And you're like, okay, there are other ways to get there. How am I going to get there?
right.
But if you're not self-aware enough to think that way, it could be a deterrent and
Oh,
a
for
self-pity party.
Oh,
of,
yeah.
Oh, like, why can't I? Like, you need to be asking yourself what you want and how can you get there because everything is possible. I think everything's on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's off the table.
It is.
So if you want a summer house somewhere, if you want to be successful, if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, if you want, like, there's so many different paths you can choose.
The easiest one, marry rich.
The easiest one, let me say,
Find
marry
a rich husband. You want that summer house? You better find a rich husband.
I like Cher's. What does Cher say? Mom, I am a rich man.
Yes.
That's what I was gonna say.
Iconic. Easiest way to go.
Easiest
But-
way to go. But
Realistically.
okay, fair.
All right. Backtrack.
Touche.
But yeah, like you said, just ask yourself, how am I going to get there? And then work backwards. I remember you said that
Yeah.
like in one of our first episodes, and you're like, where do I want to be? And let's work backwards. Because if you try and start from ground zero and work your way up, I think that's really difficult.
Because it looks so big.
Yeah. And you're
It's like you're trying to climb a mountain and all you see is like everything in front of you, but you have
Yeah.
to look back at where you came from to remind yourself, okay, you're going in small steps.
uh-huh.
You're getting to the top.
Yeah.
And then my biggest issue is that I see all the different options in front of me, like laid out as far as what life I want. And there's so many different options that I can choose from. My issue is picking one. And I see all the things of like, okay, I have so many opportunities in life of like different routes I can take. But my issue is that I can't pick one. And because I'm so scared of picking which one is right for me and which one like I should steer clear of or whatever, that I don't pick anything. And then I'm stagnant and I don't grow because of that. When I have to just pick something, because you can't, it's even if you pick something and it's always going to be right because there's always going to be a lesson behind it. But
And it'll lead you to
can't
the right
choose.
one.
I know, but
But hear me out.
Why
Why can't you have multiple of the paths?
I agree.
Why can't
But
you
why
do
don't
it
you
all?
tell my mind that? I agree with you.
I think you can do it all within your lifetime. Obviously.
I think you can too. And it's like, what do you love? What sets your soul on absolute fire? What is it? Out of all of these things.
Are you asking rhetorically or are you asking me just like
Tell me. Tell me.
I don't-
What sets your soul on fire and makes you so happy?
I don't
What is it?
know.
Being in the south of France.
Being in the south of France with like a Aperol spritz. I don't know. What do you want me to say? I'm just a girl. I don't know. I love real estate. I love strategy and talking business and things like that. I don't know how that pertains. I love traveling. I love blogging or like YouTube. I love what we're doing now. I see so much potential in it and it like lights me on fire. Women empowerment.
So what are you struggling with? Which path? Like what are the paths
What
that are
to
laid
do
out?
next?
What are
Not-
what are the things laid out?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a therapy session.
You want? I don't know. Maybe should I be paying you?
Let's get deep.
I feel like with moving, you don't want to choose the wrong place though.
And then that's really hard because
I love my job. I love my boss. I love everything. It's super beneficial. So it's like, well, maybe that's not now. Maybe that's when I have a family. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like when you're at 25, at 20, it looks totally different at 25. But at 25, you're like, okay, you look at, I feel maybe it's just, it's not just for women, but especially women, because by 30, if you want family, if you want kids and everything, well, being a mother, and not saying you can't be a businesswoman and a mother, but I think it is a different struggle for women to find the balance in that. So then it's just like different paths. I don't know.
I think it is hard for women because we have to think about the whole kid situation.
You
Unless
do.
you do freeze your eggs or something.
That's
but like
expensive.
exactly, it's not an option for a lot of people. But I just think women do have to think about the timeline a lot more than men do.
They do, and
You
it
know?
freaks us out.
Yeah, of course.
For me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. What scares me, I think something you're saying, Natalie, too, is like I would honestly love to move away, but I've built and am building such a strong business here too that I'm also scared that like I can't move and then build that same thing somewhere. So it's like, where do I want to set my foundation?
Yeah. Which is false.
Is it?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. Because you can do that anywhere. And if you go somewhere else, the market's probably better. Nobody knew you really. Like you branded yourself, you market, you cold call, you get out there. It would be the same as anywhere. It's just if you want to or not.
Yeah.
Because you are your success.
And if it's meant to be, it's going to happen for you.
But
it's hard when you're internalizing it for you. Like I can say that about you guys. You could say that about me, but it's hard when you're the one doing it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's hard.
I just think being 25 or just getting closer and closer to 25, I felt more and more lost than I was at 20. Because at 20, you think you got it all figured out.
You really do.
You're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and like no big deal. You know, my life's going to be set. But now as I'm approaching 25, I'm like, I have no idea. And it's like the scariest feeling in the world, you know? But also, in the same token, if you flip the narrative, when am I ever going to feel like this again? You know?
It's hard because at the same time, I feel like we're all super in love with where we are and we're so grateful for being young and traveling. And I love my life. It's just you can overthink it really easily.
You can. And, you know, not knowing what's next, it can be a good and bad thing.
Yeah.
Because typically, whenever you know, settle down, you have your roots, you have a family, you know what the next 10 years of your life are going to look like, 10, 20. I mean, not necessarily, not in every case, but usually you do. But the leading up to that,
I have no idea what the next 10 years is going to hold.
No.
But I also love that I don't know.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
We are just figuring out, or at least I feel this way, I'm just figuring out who I really, really am and who I really want to be. And like, I just want to keep rolling on that.
Which I love that feeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
But how do you figure that out?
I don't think you ever do. I think that's just life.
No, I think it's always a question, but I think you get a better grip on it. Or at least you know for the time being.
I think the number one thing is being positive and being grateful.
And like doing things
life
for
in
yourself too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you going on your 2-week thing to Bali by
Eat, pray, love
yourself.
trip.
But
I
yes,
think that's gonna be
that's
amazing.
life changing.
Everybody needs to watch Eat, Pray, Love because that is the epitome of my life right now.
Yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah. Just
I think
going
it's
and finding
amazing.
yourself. Yeah.
And it opens you up.
Mm-hmm.
so courageous to do.
I love it. It's so crazy because we talk about, we don't know any like life but it's also, we have to remind ourselves that it's the best times. Like we're young. We
Not
have so much
knowing.
ahead of us, not knowing that we should be addicted to like the unknown,
The
of,
roller
like,
coaster of
the
it.
change
Right.
of taking it as it comes and the excitement because it's life.
Flip
Mhm.
the narrative and make it a positive thing
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than a scary thing.
No, it's not a scary thing, but like it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
And I don't think you ever fully know. Like
No.
throughout life, you're gonna have change.
But I think at 25 too, like with that feeling of being lost, I think not panic per se, but more of like serious thoughts come in of like as women, like, oh, if I want to have kids, like in 5 years or so,
Yeah.
I need to start thinking about this.
Yeah.
If you're not married, it's just like all these thoughts start coming in, and it's just more of a serious time than 20 to 25.
Yeah.
Where you can just mess around and make mistakes and this and that.
I cannot even think about a child. Respect to all my moms. Love you guys. But like personally, I just like I cannot picture myself with a child
can't
at
either.
all. And like I hope maybe in 5 years that like that will change. But genuinely, I don't know
I agree.
if it will because I am obsessed with myself right now and like all the things I want to do.
You know what I was
We're
told?
obsessed with you too.
Yes.
You know what I was told? My friend McCall, she said something to me that has really stuck with me about having kids and knowing when you're ready. But you just said that you're so, obsessed and like selfish at this age. But she said once you're okay with not being so selfish, then that's when you're ready to have kids. Or when
That's
you're just
deep.
not in your selfish era, I guess.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you can't
Yeah.
be.
Because you'll never be fully ready.
No, you
but-
never will be.
Yeah.
When
I can't
will-
either, though. I can't imagine.
When will I not be selfish though?
I don't know.
I don't
That's
know.
what scares me. I'm like,
I was talking probably to my mom, but my brothers, looking at where they were at my age, at 25, I think one of them was, though they were both married, one of them had already a kid. I don't think he had two. I think he only had one. And the other one, they were married and living in a different city and whatnot. But I'm like, the way I cannot imagine.
I'm like,
And like by my brother, he's in his early 30s now. He has 3 kids. He had like a couple by late 20s. I'm like, that's insane. And like, good for you. Like, obviously I love them, but I literally cannot imagine.
I can't even come up with what I'm eating for dinner.
Yeah, I'm like, I
Let
go to
alone-
Jersey Mike's every day, use my coupons. Okay. So-
Yeah, let alone having a kid.
imagine.
But it's different for every person at different times in your life.
Yeah. Everybody goes through different seasons at different times.
They do.
So true.
So basically, we just don't know.
We don't know
don't
what the
know
next
anything.
5 years hold, but
I know I like where I am at 25 a lot more than I was at 20.
me too.
Same.
And I am so fucking excited to see what the next few years hold.
I
Let's
am
go,
too.
baby.
I am
too.
so excited.
I'm excited for this podcast, for the brand, for real estate,
traveling.
traveling, relationships, and just growth.
And I can't wait to like reflect back in 5 years at this moment and be like, oh, Kristy, you had
Yeah.
no idea
Yeah.
what was coming.
You didn't even know.
Yeah.
I think the number one thing would be positive thinking, gratefulness, and open to opportunities.
I love that.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
being open because you don't know what's coming.
Yes,
But
being
you just have to be open. That's kind of how I am right now.
Yeah.
Like we talk about moving away a lot. Like, I don't know. I'd be okay with going not anywhere, but
Mhm.
mountains or water. I'm just very open. I don't want to set plans. I just want to kind of like go with the flow and like, do I want to live in another country? Do I want to move to another state? Like, what do I want to do? I
Don't
know.
restrict yourself.
Because
Just
I
see
feel
what
like
comes your way.
yeah, once you do, then I feel like you might pass up your life path.
For sure.
I agree.
I love that.
I'm open. I'm ready for
What
whatever.
a way to close it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was great. So hopefully you got learned a little bit more about us and where we were, but reflect a little bit on yourself and to not feel alone if you don't know what's going on with your life.
At 20 or
Absolutely.
25.
Yeah, and this could be, could pertain to you if you're in high school, college, late 20s, early 30s. I mean, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah. And if you're in your 30s, you're probably laughing at us.
Yep. You have no idea what's coming. Thanks for listening. Can't wait till next episode.
Yeah. Cheers.
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 Bye.